The sound of gravel crunching beneath my tires was still fading when I walked into my apartment, kicked off my heels, and instinctively reached for my phone. It was a habit. Check email, calendar, bank account. Just a routine after spending 12 hours plastering a polite smile across my face at another Carver family gathering. I didn't expect the number on the screen to freeze me in place. $487. I blinked, refreshed again. Still $487. Just yesterday morning, I had over $14,000 in that account. 14,000. My emergency fund, my rent buffer, my safe place. Gone. My heart thudded in my ears as I dropped onto the armrest of the couch, phone trembling in my hand. I was still staring at the screen when a message popped up from my sister Stephanie. Thanks for covering, sis. We'll talk later. Love you. Covering what? I didn't have to wonder long. My phone buzzed again, this time a video. It was a group selfie from earlier at the reunion. Stephanie, her husband Craig, my parents, all raising glasses, laughing. Like nothing had happened. My stomach twisted. I couldn't breathe. I drove back. I don't remember locking my front door. I barely remember the road. All I know is that 20 minutes later I was pulling into my parents' driveway, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. Inside, everything was so painfully normal. Craig was leaning against the fridge with a beer in hand. That smug, half smile glued to his face. You seriously came back, he said, smirking. Relax. We needed it more than you. I didn't answer. My thumb hovered over my phone, refreshing my account again, praying the app was just glitching. But no. Still $487. Stephanie looked up from the couch, legs curled under her like we were in the middle of some casual Thursday night hangout. She took a sip of wine and said lightly, Don't be so dramatic. It's not like we stole it. We're family. I turned to my mother, who sat by the window knitting. She didn't even glance up. Mom, I said, voice shaking, did you know about this? She sighed, like I'd just accused her of burning the roast. Sweetheart, you're always so sensitive. You have a good job. No kids. No mortgage. You live alone. You're fine. So that justifies stealing from me? Language, my dad muttered from behind his phone. I looked back at Stephanie. How did you even get access? You left your info on the family computer, she replied without flinching. Maybe next time, don't log in and walk away. Honestly, it's kind of your fault. I stared at them. At all of them. My fists were clenched so tight I felt my nails cutting into skin. No one looked surprised. No one looked sorry. You're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be, Craig said. It's not like we blew it on vacations or anything. We paid rent, bought groceries. You know. Survived. You didn't ask, I whispered. Stephanie scoffed. We didn't think we had to. You've been helping for years. What's the difference if it comes through you or from you? I stood up slowly. No one moved. No one even blinked. You're leaving already? Mom asked, like this was a casual brunch. Yep, I said, zipping up my coat. Stephanie rolled her eyes. Don't be like that. We needed it more than you. That's just facts. I reached for the doorknob. Then paused. Then you won't mind what's coming next. They laughed, but outside, something had already started. The cold night air slapped my cheeks as I walked toward my car, fists clenched, jaw locked so tightly I thought it might crack. I didn't even hear my cousin Jen approaching until she was right next to me. Rachel, she said gently, are you okay? No, I wasn't. But I didn't answer because if I opened my mouth, I would scream. I yanked the car door open and slid inside, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. My pulse was in my ears, my chest tight with something I hadn't named yet. Rage, betrayal, exhaustion. Maybe all of it, but this wasn't the first time. It never starts with thousands of dollars vanishing from your bank account. No, it starts much smaller. Slower. It starts with one little favor. Stephanie had forgotten to pay her phone bill once. She called me crying. I covered it. Then Craig lost his job and asked if I could spot them a little just for the month. I sent over 500. No payback. No thank you. Nothing. Then came the birthday gift for their daughter. I offered to help. I meant, let me know if you need backup. But they took that as Rachel's covering it and showed up to the party with a new iPad for an 8-year-old, bought on my card. Each time, they made it sound like I owed them. You're lucky, Rachel, Mom would say with that voice of hers, sugary sweet, but sharp like a needle under the surface. You don't have the struggles your sister does. God gave you ease so you could share it, she said once, like it was gospel. Dad chimed in plenty of times, too. Family means supporting each other. You wouldn't be here without us. Translation, we gave you life. Now give us your paycheck. I never asked for anything. Not when I was laid off for 6 months and lived off rice, eggs, and black coffee. Not when I skipped vacations 3 years in a row just to rebuild my savings. Not even when I helped pay off Stephanie and Craig's credit card debt 2 years ago. The one they swore they'd pay back as soon as things get better. They never did. They didn't even bring it up again. Last week, Stephanie had texted me. Still coming to the reunion? Should I put your name on the casserole list? I replied, yeah. Should I bring something? Her response came quick. Almost too quick. Just bring yourself. And your card. I thought it was a joke. Now I know it wasn't. I drove aimlessly that night, past glowing gas stations and closed coffee shops, my phone buzzing every few minutes with calls I didn't answer. I didn't want to hear apologies shaped like excuses, or guilt dressed up as affection. Somewhere around midnight, I found myself parked in front of the only place that had ever felt like home. Grandma June's old house. She'd passed away a few years ago, but I'd kept the key. She used to tell me, if they ever turn on you, Rachel, you come here. This door will always open for you. And that night it did. I stepped inside, turned on the lamp beside her old recliner, and sat down without taking off my coat. The quiet in that house felt like a blanket pulled tight around my shoulders. No one asking, no one needing, no one taking, just silence. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel lonely. I didn't sleep that night. I stretched out on the old floral couch in Grandma June's living room, the one that squeaked every time you shifted, and stared at the ceiling until the sky outside turned from black to gray. My phone was on silent, face down on the coffee table, blinking steadily like a heartbeat I didn't want to feel. At 6:08 a.m. I checked it. 5 missed calls, all from Stephanie. By noon it was up to 12. Then came a text from Craig. Just call her. She's freaking out. I waited until call number 15 before I picked up. Rachel. Stephanie's voice was low, shaky, almost unrecognizable. We have a problem. I didn't respond. The power company came today, she continued. We're way behind on the bill. Like months behind. And they're threatening to shut it off by Monday if we don't pay. So, I said flatly, so, we need your help. I laughed. It came out sharp, bitter, more like a bark than anything else. You drained my account, and now you're asking for more? It wasn't just for us, she snapped defensively. We used some of it to help Mom and Dad, too. Dad's car broke down last month, remember? I wasn't told. Because you always say no when it's not an emergency. This is an emergency, I said coldly. Just not my emergency. You're being dramatic, she hissed. It's family. We didn't think you'd mind. You've always helped. That's what you're for, right? There it was. That line. That poison little sentence they always saved for last. That's what you're for. Like I was a tool. A service. A damn backup plan with a pulse. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just hung up. That night, I lay awake again, but not from anxiety. I was tracing every thread, every memory, every moment from the last 5 years. The favors, the gifts I didn't offer but were expected to give. The way Mom always said, "You're the strong one." The way Dad never even looked up from his paper. The way Stephanie rolled her eyes if I paused before saying yes. They never saw me. Not really. Not as a daughter. Not as a sister. Not as a person. Just a solution. Just a source. Just a wallet with a heartbeat. 3 days later, my phone buzzed again. Mom. I almost didn't answer, but something in my gut told me to. "We need to talk," she said immediately. Not hi. Not how are you. Not even a whisper of I'm sorry. "We're planning a family dinner. Just us. Come over tonight." I didn't want to. Every part of me screamed to stay away, but a small, bitter voice inside whispered, "Go. See if they'll even bother pretending to be sorry." So I went. The house looked exactly the same. Yellow porch light flickering. A wind chime I'd bought last Christmas swinging lazily in the breeze. Curtains drawn like they were hiding something. Or everything. I stepped inside and immediately felt it. That thick, stale tension in the air, the kind that makes your skin itch. The TV was on low. Dad sat in his recliner, flipping through the mail like nothing had happened. Stephanie leaned against the window frame, arms crossed, jaw locked. Craig lounged at the dining table, legs stretched out like he was waiting for the game to start. Mom clinked plates in the kitchen, louder than necessary. No one turned to greet me. "Well," Stephanie said dryly, "look who showed up." I dropped my bag by the door, hung up my coat. "Let's just get this over with." "Good," Craig smirked. "Maybe we can finally stop pretending you were robbed." I sat down slowly, my hands folded in my lap. I was robbed. Mom cleared her throat. "Rachel, we know you're upset, but you have to understand. We were struggling. There were no other options." Stephanie jumped in, her tone already defensive. "We were drowning, okay? Bills, food, rent. You know what that's like." "No," I said flatly. "Because I planned. I budgeted. I lived on rice and eggs for 6 months after my layoff and didn't ask anyone for a thing." Dad nodded, like I'd just proved his point. "Exactly. You've always been the stable one. We knew we could count on you." "You didn't ask," I said, my voice sharp now. "You took." "It's not stealing if it's for the family," Stephanie said, rolling her eyes. Craig added, "We didn't spend it on crap. We used it where it mattered." "No," I said calmly, reaching into my bag. "You spent $472 on makeup, $900 on takeout, and $2,300 to pay off your car loan, Craig." Craig sat up straighter, face hardening. "You went through our accounts." "Oh, I did more than that." I pulled out my laptop, opened the screen to a neatly color-coded spreadsheet. Every charge, every transfer, every unauthorized withdrawal. Lined up, time-stamped, documented. I filed a fraud report," I said, meeting each of their eyes one by one. And guess what? They got back to me. Stephanie's eyes widened. "You didn't." "I did." "You called the police!" she shrieked, standing now. I turned to Mom. "Still think this is just family business?" "This is insane," Dad snapped. "You want to put your own sister in jail." "You put yourself there," I said quietly. And then 3 loud, deliberate knocks. The room went still. Stephanie went pale. Craig stood too fast, knocking his chair back. Mom gasped and backed away from the table. Dad froze mid-step. "Knock, knock, knock. Open up!" A voice boomed from behind the door. "Financial Crimes Unit." Craig turned to me, eyes narrowed, voice low. "Rachel, tell me you're not serious." I stood. "I warned you," I said, "and none of you listened." Then I opened the door. 3 agents stood at the door, wind whipping their jackets against their legs. Bold letters across their backs read, "Financial Crimes Unit." One held a clipboard, another had a tablet. The third surveyed the living room behind me with sharp, calculating eyes. "Rachel Carver?" the agent with the clipboard asked. "Yes." "Thank you for your cooperation. We'll take it from here." I stepped aside without a word. Mom gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Stephanie dropped into her chair like her knees gave out. Craig stood frozen, blinking as if he could rewind time with enough disbelief. One of the agents turned to them. "You are listed as parties of interest in an open case involving financial fraud and identity theft." "Identity theft?" Mom choked out. "Heck, she's our daughter." The agent didn't even flinch. "Family ties do not make illegal activity legal, ma'am. We didn't steal anything." Stephanie cried, standing again. "We had a right. She's always helped us. Thinking you're entitled to someone's money doesn't make it yours." Another agent said calmly. "Remain seated, please." I didn't move. I just stood by the wall, arms crossed, watching it unfold. For once. No one interrupted me. No one talked over me. No one rolled their eyes or dismissed my voice. They listened because they had no choice. Mom turned to me, eyes glassy with tears. "Rachel, please, we didn't mean to hurt you. We were just desperate. You've always been the strong one, the only one we could count on." I met her eyes and held them. "You don't get to cry now." Her shoulders collapsed as she sank into a sob. Stephanie opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Craig looked like he was ready to bolt, but he didn't dare move under the agent's stare. "You want to talk about family?" I said, stepping forward, my voice clear, calm, unshaken. "Family is trust. Family is respect. Family is asking, not assuming. Not stealing. Not laughing while you bleed me dry." No one replied. I picked up my bag from where I dropped it at the front door, slung it over my shoulder, and turned to the lead agent. "I'll be outside." He nodded. "We'll be in touch." And just like that, I walked out. They didn't chase me. No one called my name. There was no screaming, no excuses, no final guilt trip as the door closed behind me. Just silence. Cold, clean silence. The kind of silence that doesn't ache. It liberates. As I got into my car, I looked back once through the windshield. I could see shadows moving inside, agents separating them, questions flying, gloves slipping on, papers being handed over. The storm had finally arrived, and for once, I wasn't the one cleaning up after it. I didn't stay to watch them get escorted out. Didn't sit in my car to catch a glimpse of Stephanie crying or Craig arguing with an agent or Mom collapsing under the weight of everything they'd tried so hard to pretend wasn't real. I drove. No destination, no music, no calls. Just the hum of the engine and the quiet that comes after a storm. Around 10:30, I pulled up to the only place I could think of. A little blue house at the edge of town, surrounded by overgrown rose bushes and wild ivy. The house Grandma June left behind. I hadn't been there in years, but I still had the key. She'd given it to me when I was 22, after a particularly awful Thanksgiving when Stephanie accused me of making things awkward just by showing up. Grandma had pulled me aside that night and said, "If they ever turn on you, Rachel, you come here. This door will always open for you." I didn't believe her then, but now I needed to. The key turned like it never forgot the lock. The door creaked open. Everything was exactly how she'd left it. Wooden floors, floral curtains, that faded quilt folded neatly at the foot of the guest bed. I dropped my bag on the floor and sat in her old recliner by the window, my coat still on, my boots unlaced, and I breathed. No one asking for money. No one guilt-tripping me for saying no. No text saying, "You're the only one doing well right now." Just silence. The kind that wraps around your shoulders like a blanket instead of choking your lungs. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just sat there, letting the quiet soak in. Eventually, I stood, made myself a cup of coffee in a chipped ceramic mug that still smelled like cinnamon, and walked barefoot into the backyard. The grass was tall. The fence leaned slightly. But the roses were still trying. I stood there for a long time, watching the sun crawl over the edge of the world. It was the first sunrise I'd watched without a pit in my stomach, without the heaviness of dread that came with every message from home. And when I finally went to bed, on that squeaky guest mattress that smelled faintly of lavender and old pages, I slept for 11 hours straight. No nightmares. No weight on my chest. No phone buzzing with thinly veiled demands wrapped in family emojis. Just sleep. Real sleep. And when I woke up, I didn't feel guilty for walking away. I felt free. The silence didn't last. It never does. By mid-afternoon, the first email came. Subject line, "We need to talk." From Dad. I didn't open it right away. But curiosity won. It was short. Cold. "This has gone too far. You've humiliated the entire family. What happened to loyalty?" No apology. No regret. Just shame. My shame, apparently, for not playing along anymore. Then came the texts from Stephanie, one after another, as if flooding me with words could erase what she'd done. "I hope you're happy. They're freezing our accounts. Craig's being investigated at work. You ruined our lives over a couple of payments. A couple. Try tens of thousands of dollars. Try 5 years of silent sacrifice. Try showing up again and again just to be met with eye rolls and side comments about how lucky I was to be alone and childless." Like that somehow made me their built-in bank. I didn't respond. Not to her. Not to Dad. Then came Mom. A voicemail. Her voice soft. Cracking. "Sweetheart, you didn't have to do it this way. We could have handled it as a family. They're threatening charges. They said we might lose the house." I replayed that line over and over. We might lose the house. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vindicated, either. I just didn't care. Because I'd already lost a home years ago when they decided I was worth more as a checking account than as a daughter. I stayed in Grandma's house for another 2 nights. Didn't tell anyone where I was. Didn't check in. Didn't explain. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for not replying. But the fallout wasn't done yet. On the 3rd night, a message popped up from someone I hadn't spoken to in nearly a decade. Seth, my cousin from Mom's side. We'd maybe exchanged 5 words total at family holidays. His message was short. "Just so you know, Stephanie's trying to spin this, telling people you approved the transfers. There's a lawyer involved. Watch your back." I almost laughed. Even now, even with everything crumbling around her. She was still trying to rewrite the story. That night, I called my lawyer. "Send everything," I said. "Every screenshot, every file, every text. And I'm not just pressing charges." There was a pause on the line. "I want a restraining order, too." He didn't question it. Not anymore. Not every message that found me in the weeks after came with fire and blame. Most did, yes, long-winded monologues from Stephanie trying to justify her actions. Backhanded guilt trips from Mom, passive-aggressive silence from Dad. A parade of excuses wearing the mask of reconciliation. But then, one morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name, written in careful handwriting I didn't recognize right away. Inside, a check for $1,200. And a single sheet of lined paper, torn from a notebook. At the top, Kelly. I hadn't seen her since the baby shower 3 years ago, the one where she showed up late and left early, always quiet, always floating at the edge of the chaos that was our family. She was Craig's younger sister, technically part of the group, but never really in it. Her handwriting was neat, a little slanted, like she didn't quite believe what she was writing until the words were on the page. "I know we haven't spoken in years," the letter began, "but I just wanted to say, you were right. About all of it. About how they treat you. About how toxic it's gotten. I used to think you were just cold. I thought you didn't care. But now, I think you were brave. Watching what you did gave me the courage to walk away too. This check is for everything you paid for that no one thanked you for. Ellie's tablet, the rent, the clothes. I know Craig never said thank you, but I am. Thank you for being the example I needed. Kelly, I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I read it again. And then, for the first time in months, maybe even years, I cried. Not out of pain, not out of frustration, but because someone finally saw me. Not as a bank account, not as the strong one, not as the cold, distant daughter who never needed anything, but as a person, just a person. No one in my family had ever used the word brave for me before. They used words like independent, capable, resilient, all of which translated in their mouths to she doesn't need help, so we don't have to try. But brave? Brave meant they finally understood that I had needed something all along, and that I kept showing up anyway. I folded the check back into the envelope and placed it in my desk drawer, not to cash it, maybe one day, but because I wanted to keep it. A reminder that even in families like mine, someone might still choose to see clearly. For once, I didn't feel invisible. The call came just after sunset. Unknown number. I almost declined it. I'd gotten good at that, but something in me hesitated. I answered. Rachel. The voice was small, hoarse, almost a whisper. Stephanie. I didn't say anything. She kept talking. Look, I know I messed up. Okay, I went too far. I didn't think it would go like this. I stayed silent. Craig's been suspended. Mom won't stop crying. Dad won't even speak to me. And you, she hesitated, like she was choking on the words. You always had the power to ruin everything. And now you finally did. That made me blink. I leaned against the kitchen counter, letting the weight of her sentence sink in. I didn't ruin anything, I said, voice flat. I just stopped letting you walk over me. Silence. Then quieter. Can you just stop it now? Drop the charges. Please. I'll do anything. Just make it stop. For a second, just 1 second, I almost felt something. A flicker of the old me. The one who always picked up, always fixed it, always made it better. The sister who sent money without being asked. Who showed up to birthdays with gifts she couldn't afford. Who offered help even when she was drowning quietly herself. But then I remembered. I remembered that night at the reunion. That wine glass in her hand. That casual little smirk. That one sentence she tossed at me like it was nothing. We needed it more than you. And just like that, whatever softness had stirred in me dissolved. I smiled, but it was bitter, tired. A goodbye smile. No, I said gently. You made this mess. You live in it. I hung up. No screaming. No slamming. Just the sound of finality, of a door closing without the promise of ever opening again. That night, I made dinner for myself in peace. Pasta and nothing fancy. I played my favorite college album on low volume and sat on the porch with a cup of coffee, wrapped in Grandma June's old knit shawl. The sky was quiet. The phone didn't buzz. No one asked me for money. No one sent guilt-drenched texts that began with "Since you're the only one doing well." I wasn't their bank anymore. I wasn't their cushion, their backup plan, their emergency exit. I was just me, and for the first time, that was enough. It's strange how quiet peace really is. You expect it to feel like fireworks, like loud music and celebration. But for me, peace sounded like no one asking me for money, no one calling me selfish, no one sending long, winding texts that ended with, "You know you're the only one we can count on." Just silence. Glorious, uninterrupted silence. 3 months have passed since the night I walked out of that house. 3 months since I opened the door and let the agents in. Since I finally said enough. The fallout came fast. Stephanie and Craig tried damage control. Sent a lawyer to my attorney, hoping to privately resolve things. No apology. No responsibility. Just fear. I told my lawyer, let it burn. A week later, Mom sent a letter. 10 pages. Her handwriting still neat, but trembling in places. She wrote about how things got out of hand, how they never meant to hurt me, how she hoped I could see the bigger picture. Her words still echo in my head. We just assumed you'd always be there. That's what good daughters do. That line told me everything I needed to know. Not, we were wrong. Not, you didn't deserve this. Just, you were supposed to stay quiet and keep giving. I didn't write back. I didn't call. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. I moved. New apartment. New state. No more surprise visits. No more accidental run-ins at the grocery store. I even changed my number. My boss, probably noticing how focused I'd become, offered me a promotion. I took it. It's funny how much better you perform at work when you're not secretly paying someone else's mortgage behind the scenes. I sleep better now, eat better, breathe better, because I'm no longer carrying for people on my back who refuse to say thank you. Then, one morning, another letter showed up. No return address. Inside, a check for $1,200 and a note from Kelly. I left him. You were right. I was scared. But watching what you did gave me the courage to walk away too. This is for everything you paid for. Thank you for being the example I needed. I cried when I read that. Not because I was hurt. Not because I was sad. But because someone finally saw me. Not as a wallet. Not as the strong one, but as a person. People ask me sometimes, do you regret it? And the answer is simple. No, I don't regret standing up. I regret waiting so long. I regret every sleepless night. Every birthday I spent alone because they said I was too dramatic. Every time I made myself small so they could feel big. My therapist once asked me, why did it take you so long to say no? I told her, because I thought saying no meant I didn't love them. She nodded and said, saying no is how you teach people to love you back. I've never forgotten that. And if you're reading this, if you've been the strong one, the responsible one, the one who always gave and never asked, let me tell you what I wish someone had told me sooner. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to walk away. And when you do, you don't lose a family. You find yourself.